What's up, guys? Logan and Kyle here. We're doing episode 20 of the Blacklisted Voice. Today, we're going to go over kind of your why you're competing, why it's important to have a why. We'll define that why a little bit and kind of get into like some ins and outs of what defining a why can do for you and like how that helps you as a person as well. So Logan, thanks for coming on and doing this one. This is actually Logan's topic today, so he wanted to chat about this. So
yeah, man, excited to get into it. This is probably one of my favorite topics of competing, and I think it's kind of the X factor for a lot of competitors and a lot of people that are just kind of searching for that it factor. And I think defining your why and all the stuff that we're going to get into today kind of, I think, plays the biggest role in longevity within anything that you do, not just CrossFit or if you compete in field sports or at whatever level. I think for longevity and just success in anything, defining your why, knowing why you do what you do, and why you're going after your goals, I think is extremely important.
For sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people have probably seen like the person who's got some new hobby on Instagram every month or something like that.
Yeah.
Just kind of like floating around trying to figure themselves out still. So
absolutely.
The why kind of comes into play with that as well. Like just kind of figuring yourself out as a person. So
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So first thing, I guess, like how would you define what your why is? Or
man, I would say how I would define it is the intrinsic motivator that is behind your extrinsic goals. So why do you want to finish X number in the open? Why do you want to go to the sanctional? Why why do you want to qualify for the CrossFit Games? What's the reward or reason behind that extrinsic goal? Extrinsic meaning a measurable outcome. Intrinsic meaning kind of those things that aren't measurable, at least to the sense of on paper, or qualifying for something, winning, getting a medal, getting money, something like that. But the motivator, the reason that's behind your goals, what's actually driving it. And I think for a lot of people, at least the ones that don't have too much of longevity within any sport, their whys are I'm not going to say necessarily wrong, because I would never say that the reason that you're doing something is wrong. It might just not come from a very good place, or it's not a reason long enough to stay in a sport. If your reason for doing CrossFit or any sport is motivated by money, or things of that nature, and that's the biggest reason, I can tell you, you're probably not going to last very long within the given sport. Or I would say maybe you're not going to be as successful as you could be if your why wasn't maybe a little bit deeper than that. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people that could make an awesome living competing in a sport. Maybe they do it for the money. And, I've met plenty of very gifted collegiate athletes that literally do a sport, and you ask them why, and they say, because I'm good at it. It's literally that simple, and for a lot of those people, some of those guys go to the pros, some of them last a year or two, some of them never make it out. And I think for a lot of people, it's got to be deeper than that to stay around in it. And I think with a really deep reason or a reason why you do what you do also is coupled with just a passion for why you do what you do. Because I mean, simply put, if you're putting a lot of work in and you don't love it, then eventually you're going to fail or stop, because
Yeah.
who would keep doing something if they didn't love it. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that's not really, like, I don't hear like too many people just like talk about, is just like with any sport or anything in life. Like,
Mhm.
I think everyone has that one thing. I think everyone is kind of, you have that one thing that you just really go after with everything that you have in life, and it's like the thing for you. Um, and some people might disagree, some people, whatever. But I think there's only one thing, and there can be other things that you're as passionate about,
Yeah,
maybe just a little bit less. But I think everyone has that one thing that they just can, or have that opportunity, that are gifted to excel at.
for
Um,
sure.
and
Yeah,
having that reason and passion behind it is a huge tool in your success at that one gift or ability.
for sure. Yeah, yeah. I think you were hitting on something good there, like the wrong whys, or the kind of like like extrinsically motivated why. So like chasing
Yeah,
money and whatever. And like, I think I like nobody's why is wrong, like you were saying.
yeah,
I think there's like stronger whys and there's weaker whys. And so like
yeah,
that kind of that chasing that, fame, success, money, I think is like a little bit of like a weaker why. And
right,
we'll get into this a little bit more. There's multitudes of whys at any one given time. But like you were saying, you kind of have to dive a little bit deeper into like, why do I want the fame? Why do I want the money? Why do I want, the success that comes along with, X amount, X task or accomplishment. So,
yeah,
just kind of like asking the question of those superficial and those kind of weaker whys, and diving down a little bit deeper into, why you might want that. Um,
yeah,
Financially, like it makes sense. Like, I don't want to stress about money. I want to
yeah,
provide for my kids. I want to
yeah,
do X, Y, like something a little bit bigger than just get money for myself. And I think those start to tend to become your stronger whys as you start
yeah,
to develop a little bit more. So,
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
but yeah, so we kind of touched on like what is your why. So how would you go? Like, what are your steps for kind of like defining your why, or like starting to kind of like break your why down, if that makes sense?
Man, I would think the simplest way that I've kind of done this with a multitude of different athletes. I've done it on a personal level,
Mhm.
as in just like asking someone, and I've also done it like in a team setting where I asked a whole group of people, like, called someone out and says, why do you want to play football? Why do you want to be a successful college athlete? Why do you
How
um you
how
know
awkward
have
was that room after that?
Oh, it was pretty silent after that. It was pretty silent. But I got some pretty good on the spot answers.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, there was a couple of them that, for the love of the game, and I get it. Like, I did put you on the spot. You're not gonna have, the best answer. And then a couple of them, because I'm doing it for my family.
yeah,
I'm the first one to go to college in my family, and I'm being able to represent them and show my family, what success looks like. And just because you're raised a certain way doesn't mean that defines you. And that's cool stuff. Like, that's
yeah,
awesome to hear. Like, that's what it's all about. Like, having something like that to feed the fire, because it was a conversation that I'm more when it comes to coaching, and I would say coaching like collegiate athletes, I'm kind of more on the side of kind of giving the athletes the tools to be their own coaches. So
yeah,
I do a lot of just like self actualization, and just really getting to know why the athletes are wanting to um, you know be there, and are they just going through the motions, or is this something you really want to do? And and I think if you can kind of get through that layer, then you're going to have a lot more buy-in, just your program in general.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I do it.
Why is that? Like, why do you get more buy-in, and like how can you be a better coach when you know somebody's why?
I think first of all, it kind of you're kind of vulnerable, and you kind of on the spot, and they're a little bit vulnerable, and they really open up. And the better relationship you have with someone, the better you are going to be able to coach. And then another point, if I know, what your why is, or just some idea, I have a better reason and understanding of how to motivate you.
Yeah.
And simple, like, an athlete's going to work harder for a coach that they have a better relationship with. And so I just kind of try to create that, with my athletes, and especially more on kind of the sports side, whether it's, football, baseball, basketball, within strength and conditioning. A lot of those athletes need a little bit more help when it comes to motivation than some of the more like high level CrossFit athletes that I work with. A lot of them are kind of self-starters. You don't really get a lot of that with football and coach or sports like that. So really, really putting an effort in on how to motivate them is at the top of the priority list. But yeah, I found that, if I can get to understand what makes them tick, and really open up to them as well. Like, I was in the first time that I did this, I was, talking to a bunch of football players, and like, look, man, when I was playing college football, my number one goal was to, become a Division I athlete. And I never got that chance to play football at the Division I level. And I ended up playing D3 football. So when I was playing D3 football, and after I was done playing D3 football, a huge part of my motivation was, proving all those coaches and people that they were wrong. And, I'm not defined by my success within the sport. And, I'm going to be successful. And that, my failures don't define me, and it actually made me stronger, and better for it, and a lot of people could really get motivated by that, because the guys I was talking to were D3 athletes. So, that just like that created a whole lot of buy-in, just because, people can relate to that. And I think the more that you can relate to your athletes and others around you, the better off you are. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to you should, go off and have these deep conversations with just anyone, but like someone that you're having, have the chance to have a big impact with. And especially within coaching and just like sports in general. I think it's a lot easier conversation to have, because we do go, like, in sports in general, you do go through pain a lot, and you have to have something more to hold on to be able to kind of go through that pain, and come out the other end a better person for it.
So you kind of had mentioned that you you kind of ask like on the spot questions about like, why are you doing this, and like you get some answers. You start to dig a little bit deeper with some of those kids, or what
so like
conversations start to look like?
So I mean, I think that the simplest thing that and best thing that I've done is just keep asking why. You play football for the love of the game. Why do you love it? Ever since I was little, I loved, going out there and playing football, and I was good at it, and it really made me feel good. Well, why does it make you feel good? Well, because, and like keep on going, and like, you get down to the point where, I want to do something and be a part of something that's bigger than myself, because I know that, life isn't just about me. It's about having these experiences and being able to better myself with people around me. And, I want to look back on my life and be satisfied with with the things that I did, the people that, I had impact on,
Yeah.
and, know that I gave it, to the best of my ability. And some
Yeah.
people really haven't even thought about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it's just, the biggest thing that, the biggest thing that I preach to athletes, is just being super self-reflective.
Yep.
And I think some people just aren't really that great at being super self-reflective.
Right.
And I think it has a lot to do, with just our culture and how we're like always stimulated and we're never really
Mhm.
like bored. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think some people just need to like go sit in a room for like an hour a day and just like be alone in their thoughts.
Yeah. Like lock your
Um,
phone in a box or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Cause
Yeah.
like if you're always stimulated and you're always like thinking about what's going on this weekend, or what's, so and so did on Instagram, or
Yeah.
you're not thinking about the things like really deep stuff. And I
Right.
think we were talking about it the other day. It was like, how like some people just can't like suffer through like long endurance pieces, or like, there's like a connection. Like I've noticed, a lot of people just like can't be bored, or like they
Yep.
hate being stuck in the car, or, stuff like that. Well, it's like for me personally, like some of my like I've had a lot of just like thought life, and like rethinking my why and stuff, like literally while I'm on a machine, or
Yep.
just like by myself on a car, something like that. So I think
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of has a lot to do with it, is just like where like most people don't have a lot of just self-reflection time.
Yeah. For sure.
um so sometimes it just takes that. Sometimes it just takes a coach being like, well, why are you here?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
why do you want to get up at 6 a.m. every day and
Yeah.
lift? Like, why, So,
And like you don't have
um,
to answer those questions right away either. As long as
right.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
seed is like planted and you start reflecting on it a little bit. It's like an onion. You got to like peel a layer back, peel a layer back, peel a layer back, and eventually
Yep.
you kind of get to, the substance or the core of what your reasoning is. And like
For
sometimes
sure.
it's a little bit of time. I don't cook much, but I freaking suck at peeling onions. Takes me a long. So, uh, but it's just like it takes a little bit of time, and you got to kind of be patient with it and let it
Yeah.
develop. I personally know some people as it's taken years to really kind of think about and really fine tune and develop why they're pursuing something,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. 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 And I mean, and it changes too. Like you
Yeah.
can have different reasons why you do what you do throughout your
Mhm.
athletic career, or,
Yeah.
life. Cause like you're gonna have times where you're gonna have a family. You're gonna have times where you're single, where you're, girlfriend, married, kids,
Mhm.
and like it's going to change. You can still have, the same goal, but it's just more fine tuning it.
Yeah.
It's like always making sure that you do have a why, and kind of going back to it,
Yep.
and not necessarily because like my why has kind of shifted a little bit, throughout my athletic career, but it's always strong. Like it's always something that I think about a lot and often, and I think it's just something like we were saying, like being self-reflective and going back to it,
Mhm.
and just making sure that it's still there. Just because when you fall off, um, I think not having a clear understanding of why you're doing what you're doing can kind of make you lose that edge.
Yeah.
And within anything, that edge is kind of what keeps you going, especially at elite level.
Yeah.
If you lose it, like some, in sports, they kind of say you lost a step. That's kind of what I would equate it to.
Yeah.
Whether that be you're getting older, whether that be injuries or what have you, or you just kind of lose that mental spark. A lot of times that can be it. I was in it, for different reasons when I started. Those feelings and things have now changed, and
Mhm.
I don't really have. You might not have anything as strong to hold on to. So
Yeah.
that's why I think it is important to kind of like circle back to. And sometimes I think it's okay that okay, at one time this is a why, it's changed. I don't really have a reason to like suffer anymore. I might be done.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
I think that's a it's a hard conversation to have.
Yeah.
But I think
Well,
that could be
sorry.
go, no, go ahead.
It's a that's a hard thought to come across and accept as well. Like
Yeah.
especially if you love something like a sport or something like that, it's
Yeah.
very hard to come to that realization and accept that realization. But I think for most people, if they are self-reflective and when they come to that realization, they accept it.
Yeah.
But it's just like we're going to talk about habits here. It's like forming new habits and kind of like altering your life to fit your new why, if that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely.
So, but to caveat on kind of like the why changing, like when I first got in, I think this happens to a lot of people, is, you know, they have something to prove, or they're wise to prove something to either themselves or to somebody else.
Yep.
And that was kind of like the reason I started CrossFitting, or started competing, I should say. I just wanted to see what my body was capable of. And 2014, my goal was to qualify as an individual for regionals. I ended up doing that. We had a very successful year, and we ended up going to the games. And after that, I remember just like kind of the joy and the feeling that I got of like, wow, all this hard work actually paid off. And like, this feeling is incredible of seeing your fruits of labor come to fruition. And so from that point on, it was kind of like to get my teammates who are changing throughout the years to experience that and to get that joy that I kind of experienced in 2014. In 2016, we had 3 people on our team that had never gone to the games before. So they went to the games in 2016, and hopefully that was like that's a very cool experience for them. And so, you know, since then I've moved on from competing, and now it's like I can help people achieve that goal through coaching. So, you know, it's constantly an ever changing why. And like, you know, one reason it started off totally changed, you know, 3 years or 4 years into the sport and switched to something, you know, completely different. So, you know, I still had the goal in 2016 of going to the games, but the reason for going kind of changed a little bit. So, I don't know if you've had any experience with that thus far in your career.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, mine has definitely changed. And I think a lot of times, I think your why can kind of be reevaluated to something better once you're kind of already in it. Like I think a lot of people, like a lot of people might get into you know, CrossFit, especially guys. Like I feel like so many guys get into CrossFit if like you know, they're still looking for that competitive thing after college sports, or like maybe their athletic career didn't go the way that they wanted it to, so then they found CrossFit and it's like something new.
Are you saying beer league softball isn't enough?
To some people it is, though.
Yeah, for real. No knock on beer league softball.
Yeah. That's awesome. But yeah, I think a lot of times it can be that simple getting into it. Or, you know, someone like myself where I wanted to get into CrossFit because I had some past dreams and like goals that didn't come true. And I found something else that I really like and being competitive at. So I kind of, you know, shifted those goals and dreams into something else. And that's what kind of, I guess, started, you know, my real like fire for like competing and, you know, just wanting to be the best that I could possibly be in the sport. And, you know, for a while I had the goal of like a couple years like making regionals, and you know, came short a couple times, and then, you know, ended up doing some sanctionals, you know, with some success, and you know, been competing for a while now. And I kind of, you know, learned to let all that go a long time ago, because it's not really worth holding on to. It's like that might have been the reason that I started this, but like this has like turned into like so much more than I ever could have hoped for. with even like playing Division 1 like football. Like
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been competing, in the sport for like 4 or 5 years. Like I would have
Right.
been done already in D1 football. Like,
Right.
and like there's still so much more to go. And it's like led to so many like awesome like relationships, and it's led to me being able to coach athletes now
Mhm.
within the sport, and it's just led to so much more. And I just kind of like, I guess, let that why go a little bit,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just like shifted it into something, I guess, a little bit more positive.
yeah.
But like I think the best way that I kind of can put it is like, um when some of those like negative things like don't work out, um and then kind of lead to something more positive. Like, I mean, if like let's say like I played Division 1 football and it was great and I played for 4 years and I was done, maybe I would have never found it, maybe I would have never done CrossFit and
Right.
came, and had all these great relationships,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Or maybe
you
you
know
would have like had a catastrophic injury. Like like the level of athlete at D1 is like
yeah,
significantly, better.
yeah,
So like more powerful. So like maybe you had a catastrophic injury and like you wouldn't have been able to do CrossFit.
yeah. Oh, for sure. So I kind of like letting go of that and just kind of realizing like playing Division 1 football might have been the best thing to never happen,
Yeah, yeah.
like because it
Sweet.
led to like all of this,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so like that definitely started off, the why, but now it's just, for a while, um, you know, the overall why has always been like, I don't want to like look back on my life and be like, man, like there was more in the tank, or I
Yeah.
should have, what was I doing here? And I could have succeeded so much if I would have just like put in the time. And like
Mhm, mhm.
for me, like CrossFit's like the one thing that like every single year, there's definitely things that I'm like, oh, I could have done better here, could have done better
Yeah.
there, but it's like it's all like trial and error stuff and not like a effort thing,
Right, right.
or just like a knowledge thing. Like, okay, I literally didn't know that that could help, so that's why I didn't
Yeah.
do it.
Yep, yep.
And like I would say so far, probably, there's, of course, there's always things you can do better, but it's like for sure CrossFit's one of those things that every year I look back and like, yeah, I pretty much tapped out that year.
Yeah. Yep.
There's not much that I could have done better. And,
Right, right.
for me, that's kind of like my one thing. And now it's, as far as, what gets me through like day to day. And it's um, you know, and it's not like a cliche, oh, I want to be an example to everyone in the fitness sphere. But it's like I want to like maybe, someone close to me, like, my future kids, or my buddy Cannon, or my brother Austin, they're all still competing and pursuing goals. Like
Mhm.
maybe me pushing through adversity is gonna be the person that they look to and be like, man, if he can do it, then I can do it. So
Yeah,
it's
for
like
sure.
those relationships, it's for sure a huge driving point.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm never gonna be. I never would want to be that person that's like, um I want to be the reason you didn't give up, or something, something like, because a lot of people say that and it's just like,
Right,
dude,
right.
it's so such a cop out. But it's like the people that I'm close to, or going to be close to in the future with kids, it's like,
Yeah.
being an example of what hard work can do,
And yeah.
and just
Yep.
like dedication,
Yep. Yep.
is a
You
huge
never
driving factor.
you never know who's watching and who will gain motivation from something you do. So like you
Oh
always
yeah.
that's kind of one thing that I'm like exploring in. Sorry, this is like huge tangent, I guess, that we're going on right now, but
No, no,
that's kind of like something that I'm like looking at exploring and kind of developing, is like teaching athletes to be leaders, because one, it's going to create better performances. There's a lot of leadership qualities that will help you to become um, like a better competitor, a better trainer, a better um, all around, like doing the right thing to maximize your potential. And you just don't know, like your impact on people's lives. So
yeah,
and being a better leader is going to create a lot more positive impacts on people's lives.
oh, for sure. And I
Tangent.
think yeah, no, I think a good way, like I've always said, is like I always ask the question to people, who, like, there's going to be some nerds out there, but like, who won the Super Bowl 10 years ago? Who won the gold medal in the 100-meter sprint, 3 Olympics ago? Most people don't know the answer. So like a lot
I'm
of
pretty
times,
sure
like
it's Green Bay
people.
and Usain Bolt, but
Okay.
I guess I'm one of those nerds.
Yeah.
Maybe look it up after the show.
Well, you know what I mean, but like
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
gonna
for sure.
forget. People are gonna forget. But like the thing I think that really sticks with people is not what you achieve, but like how you go about achieving it.
Yeah,
You know,
yep,
like
yep.
like man, I saw that guy training like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
for years before he, got what he got. And I saw that
Right,
guy
right.
measure and weigh all of his food. Saw that guy, you know,
Yeah,
do all the little tiny things that he needed to do, and that's why he succeeded, and that's what people are
yeah.
going to remember.
Which I think is lost on today's society a little bit
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you do that shit to take a picture and put it on social media. You don't actually do that to further better yourself, you know?
yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure.
So, so one thing you were kind of chatting about here, one thing we wanted to kind of chat about is how does your why? So CrossFit's obviously a pain sport. At some point in time, there's going to be in a workout, you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Or why have I not quit this workout? Or why don't I put the bar down or slow my burpee speed down? So what is it that kind of that definition or defining your why can help you with to deal with that pain and kind of ignore that voice that's telling you to slow down or quit? Does that make sense? Or
Yeah, yeah. And I think that um, there's different levels of suffering in every sport, and obviously if you're in an endurance sport, it's just a little bit different, especially in a sport like CrossFit. Because I always say, it's pretty awesome to go out and compete in huge crowds and music's blaring and stuff like that, but like in the end, like you're still there and it still hurts. Like when you go out and play football in front of 100,000 people, like it's awesome. Like you're not in like physical pain doing like a thruster, but
yeah,
so you're like in an endurance sport, you're always going to be in pain unless it's like a lift or something like that. So really having like, a super invested understanding of your why and a reason to hold on. Like there's so like in even like a long piece in CrossFit or in any endurance event, like there's some really long races that come down to seconds.
yeah,
And you have got to like toe the line the entire time. Like there's a difference. Like I was talking to one of my clients the other day, like there's a difference between suffering for 5, 10, 20 minutes, but can you suffer for an hour? Can you like stare at a screen for an hour and just be in pain the entire time?
yeah.
And like a
Keep your heart
lot of
rate
people,
keep your heart
yeah,
rate at like 180 beats per minute or 185 for an hour straight.
yeah, and a lot of people can't. And
Yeah.
that's something, I don't want to call it mental toughness because like I don't really like that term just because it's
Yeah.
thrown around a lot by like like a lot of people in like the strength and conditioning world and like sport coaches. They want their athletes to be mentally tough, but they don't really know what that means.
Right.
And so I don't really want to call it that, but it's just more like mental fortitude
Yeah.
to like not like fall off,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like stay in it for a long period of time. Or like sometimes this is more like in training. Sometimes it's maybe not like staying at a certain pace for so long. Maybe it's just you had a bad day and you have a 2K row at the end of your workout and you burn out too quickly and you finish that 2K. Like you might have to pull it at 3 minutes a 3-minute pace, but like use it on the rower and you finish it. That's a huge thing that I try to get athletes to do, and especially myself. Like, even if you hit a wall, or even if it's just like you are dead tired, like, you finish it. Because there's just like something about finishing it that is like brings so much more of a positive light to it. It's like,
for sure.
Even if like the stimulus is lost and like you're just literally walking through the motions, then walk through the motions
And just get the work done.
Yeah, and just get the work done. But yeah, I mean, so how does having a why really help your I guess it's not going to help your pain, but it's definitely going to give you more of a reason to go into that pain and suffering.
Yeah.
And I think you can have like certain moments of an increased level, increased resting level of just mental fortitude. And I think that comes from like those times where you're in a workout and let's say there's like 4 minutes left and you're just tapped out, and maybe you're have to hold a certain pace, or maybe you have to hit a certain score for a workout, and you're like halfway in and you're like, there's no freaking way that I can do this, but you buckle down and you do it. Like that, like those moments, they're for sure few and far between, but like that's what like you live for, and that's what I think. That's like, I would love to like see someone's like brain before and after that, because there's got to be like some type of like chemical change, because it's like I mean, it's invigorating. Like me just like thinking about the times that I've personally done it, like it gives me goosebumps, like, because I know it's like, it's just such an amazing feeling. So it's like you thought about how bad it was gonna hurt. You did it anyways. It hurt maybe worse than you thought it would, and you still did it. Like it's an awesome feeling.
For sure. Yeah. I always think it's like like having your why always brings you back to kind of like a foundation that you can build off of. So like if you do have 90 minutes worth of aerobic work and you're like bored as fuck by minute 2, like you can think back like, okay, yes, I'm bored, but the purpose of this is to get me better at the sport so that I can fulfill X or X, Y, and Z of my why. And it kind of allows you to like zoom out and give you like a bigger picture of the moment. So like we were talking about like being in pain. Like if you are in pain and you kind of like are suffering, you're like, I'm not sure if I can do this, you can kind of zoom out and remember, especially if your why is like for a little bit a purpose outside of yourself. I think somebody was talking to Chandler and I heard this secondhand, so if I'm wrong about this, I apologize, but he was kind of talking about how he is one of the only Black individuals that competes at the CrossFit Games, and he wants to be that role model for the Black community, and that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on him. But at the same time, when he's in a workout and he's suffering, and he can kind of zoom out and look at bigger picture of like, he's not just doing this for himself, like he's doing this for a huge amount of people that he's going to be a role model for, and so I apologize if I get that story wrong. I definitely heard it secondhand, but like I know there are other examples of that out there, but it just kind of like gives you a little bit more perspective of kind of why you're doing something. So
absolutely.
Definitely definitely like it helps with perspective on things. So so like what can your why help with, like as far as like consistency and habits go?
I would say having a strong reason behind why why you want to achieve a certain goal, or why you do what you do. It's just going to have so much more of an impact on I would say, daily discipline. And which is hugely involved with consistency. And just having that, that thing in the back of your head every single time you think about, staying up late, or you think about watching a movie, and, instead of, getting your 8 to 10 hours of sleep, if, your why, would have to do with, if you're, counting your macros, or if you go 1 ounce over on your meat, or, 50 carbs over on your daily allotment. Little tiny things like making sure that you did your hip protocol before you squat, making sure that you got soft tissue work done. And those little tiny things that it's like, yeah, it might not impact anything. Like, who knows? Like, it might not. Like, if you have 10 more carbs every day over your macros, it might not impact you, and it probably won't. But I think the person that takes the time to make sure that everything is in order and everything is perfect, that character trait, done over and over and over again, is what is going to lead to success. Because, like, you might be you might be in so much pain, and like the difference between you achieving your goal and you coming in second or third or what have you might be just that 1 second. So if you're always used to just going above and beyond as far as keeping that, riding that line and making sure that you don't dip down, I think that will, like, literally come, like, bleed over into your physical workouts. That's why, like, I always feel so much more, like, mentally sharp when my nutrition is in line. I feel my workouts are so much better, just because, like, I'm so mentally tuned in to, like, everything in my life, that my workouts are just even that much more mentally tuned in. And I don't, and, like, for the most part, with other things in your life, there is a time where you can be relaxed, and there is a time where you can kind of, maybe not be as strict. But I think everything needs to have a reason behind it. So, like, okay, are you relaxing because you don't want to count your macros, or are you relaxing because your CNS needs a break? Like, are you not working out today because you don't want to, or are you not working out today because literally your body is wrecked and you need a break, and your joints hurt, and you just had 3 super hard training sessions, and maybe something's bothering you, you just need to take a break. So, like, that's, like, I think if you can just ask yourself why I'm doing what I'm doing before you do it, and if this thing is going to help me achieve my goals, that's a great kind of activity that you can do. Is this going to move me towards my goal? If not, do I want to do it? Or what are the consequences? Is this one thing that I'm going to look back on and be like, man, like, maybe that had an impact on my lack of success, or not achieving what I need to. And I think, I think just that consistency, just, man, like, there's nothing wrong with, getting off, a couple days, or here and there. But, like, if you consistently do the opposite, so if you're consistency slipping, then that also is going to, catch up to you then. Like, if you ate a Big Mac every, for one day, no, it's probably not going to do anything. If you ate a Big Mac for a week, it still might not really do anything. But if you eat one for a month or a year, or every single day, then eventually you're going to be fat and out of shape. So it's like those little tiny things, either good or bad, like, it might not even take months for it to show up. It might not even take a year, but maybe 2 years, 3 years, you look back and like, yeah, those habits really caught up to me. And I see that so much in athletes that are getting older in the sport. Like there's people that have like fallen off that, first started when I started, and they've been training the whole time and they've just fallen off because
Yeah.
their habits eventually caught up to them.
Yep.
And it happens. Like you get older, you got to be even more dedicated,
Super
because it
dedicated.
just not gonna pop up, or you're not gonna it's not gonna just come to you.
Right.
That
Right.
is for sure.
Yeah. So it essentially, like, you can relate it back to doing the little things right, like the details and the
Yep.
getting into the nitty gritty of things, as you could say. Those things are very difficult, I think, for a lot of people to do. So having a strong why will help you to start creating habits around that. So
Yeah.
like you were talking about, like, for the sleep thing, like 8 to 10 hours a night. If you're not getting 8 to 10 hours a night, your performance is gonna suffer, your hormones are gonna be depleted. And again, like, maybe not the first night, especially at 21, maybe not the second night, but a couple years down the road, you're gonna start seeing the effects of that.
Yeah.
But if you have kind of like that stronger why, like you were talking about, you can be like, I need to be in bed now so that I can maximize my performance tomorrow in training, so that I can go out onto the competition floor, so that I can achieve my why behind why I'm doing this. And you can kind of work backwards from there and start to be like, and in order to get to bed tonight, I have to, drink my sleepy time tea and like wind down for half an hour with my blue blockers on.
Yeah.
It may not be a bedtime routine, but like, set up your bedtime routine. And like, now all of a sudden you've created a habit of 60 minutes, 30 minutes before bed, you've got this bedtime routine where you're winding down to make sure that you're getting 8+ hours of sleep a night. Or you're making sure, like, 15 minutes before every one of your sessions, you're mobilizing, you're hitting your movement work, so that you can make sure that you're not having flare-ups that are taking you out for 2 weeks or whatever. So it's just like that kind of, you kind of have to like progressively think forward, and it'll always bring you to your why. And then from there you can regress it backwards and be like, is this a good habit to start forming, or is this habit going to help me achieve my goal because of why I'm doing this? So it's definitely helps with that for sure. Setting some good habits for that, because performance is always king inside of training. So
oh, for sure. And I mean, it's the oldest saying in the book, but like, I mean, with consistency in everything, it's just keep showing up. Like, like half of life is just showing up. And like, like, and that doesn't mean showing up to the gym, with 6 hours of sleep and a little bit of a hangover. That means showing up to every single part of your day. And how you do that is having just a super deep, intimate understanding of why you want to do it. And why, I think a lot of times it helps why you deserve it. Maybe not deserve it, but why you deserve it more than the person that's working towards the same goal. And that's not to say people deserve things over other people, but it's like, I want to know that, like, I worked harder than that person, and I do deserve this more, because I put way more into it than them, and that I mean, that's a pretty awesome feeling in itself, is like outworking someone that's more talented than you. That's a great feeling, because
for sure.
you and it's like one of those things where I preach, to my athletes, because it's always been something that I really value a lot is, do the things that it doesn't take any talent to do.
Mhm.
Find those things that it's like, yeah, people aren't going to work on this. I'm going to work on it like crazy.
Yeah.
People don't work on their rowing technique. I'm going to work on my rowing technique till it's perfect, and
Yep.
maybe it'll help. Maybe it won't, but I think the people that are ultimately successful, like, look for everything that could make them successful, possibly make them
Mhm.
successful, and then go after those things with 100%. And just that the feeling of it might help is enough. Like, this might help,
Yeah,
this might give me an edge, so I'm gonna do it. you know
for
and
sure,
yeah,
for
it
sure.
might not work out, but like, you're gonna make sure that it's not something you're missing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's one last little thing that I kind of wanted to touch on here that I think is happening to a lot of people, especially now that COVID has happened and like there hasn't been a lot of competition, so like you're not getting as much fame and recognition for at whatever level that might be, from the elite level to local level, and kind of getting some high fives or whatever,
Yeah.
like looking for. But is I think a lot of people have gotten into CrossFit and didn't really understand why they got into CrossFit.
Yep.
At when it first started, like it was on ESPN, like you see these ripped dudes doing these crazy movements, like getting a lot of pictures taken of them, or same thing with the ladies, like you see these really toned and like good looking girls going out there and doing like muscle ups and stuff, and you're like, how in the fuck is this girl doing this? And like it's crazy. Kind of like role models, or like you see kind of like a body type that you want to aspire to be and like, so I think a lot of people kind of chased this idea of almost like sex appeal as they were starting to get into CrossFit, and then like they kind of started competing because that's what they thought they had to do to get this body. And like one of the things of asking yourself why you're doing something will allow you to kind of push that goal, or that kind of thought process, or that why, to the forefront a little bit faster. So some people end up competing for years wanting this certain ideal body type, or wanting to look like this person, or whatever it is, and they think that the competition will get them there, when in reality, like, there's other ways that you can go about doing that. And they end up like hurting themselves. They don't really like competing that much. They end up not sure why they're kind of just like down in the dumps all the time. And you've been working for 6 years at this, and the stress hormones have actually made me look worse, my body type look worse. And so asking yourself why you want to do something right off the bat is going to allow you to either cut that journey short for good reasons, or push on in that journey and kind of allow you to achieve whatever it is you're looking to achieve out of whatever journey you set forth, or kind of reroute and redirect whatever journey you're on.
Yeah.
So sorry for that long
No. Yeah. No.
hope that people.
Yeah. That's for sure. Because, a lot of times it is a good question to ask. Like we said when we first started, like, if you kind of search for it and there's nothing really there, then maybe it's not worth your time anymore. Because, like,
Yeah,
CrossFit is very stressful on your
yeah,
body,
yeah,
and it for sure crosses the line at times between health and
yeah,
stress.
right,
And so, like, if you don't want to do it, then, or if you don't have like a deep meaning behind it, it's like you just want to have fun, or there's nothing wrong with that.
right.
And then also, I think there's nothing wrong with the opposite. Like, for me personally, like, I know that there's going to become a day where, I'm going to say, take competing isn't going to be as high of a priority,
Mhm.
but like, for me personally, I just love competing. Like,
Yeah,
I just love it. So, like,
yeah, Yeah.
who's to say like it couldn't be a part of my life for the rest of my life, you
For
know,
sure.
whether that be whatever that is, you know, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so there's like two different, you know, kind of paths that you can go, you know.
Yep. Yep.
And it just a lot of times I think it's very dependent on maybe even like your personality, like
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, competing, not competing. You know, some people it stresses out more than others, and you know, some people have a shorter or more longevity in the sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
In
yeah,
my
for sure.
Yeah, in my younger years, we were running a Ragnar, and one of the guys' sisters was on our team. They're older individuals. She was like, I was like, man, what was I, 24 at the time, and this lady was in probably her mid 30s, I think, at the time, with like 2 kids, and she's
Yeah.
like, we were talking, and she's like, you know, this goes back to your personality type thing. She's like, yeah, basically I just strive for mediocrity in everything I do in my life. And I just like stared at her and was like, I don't understand you. So, but I mean, she knows that about herself too, which is like, she's had to have conversations about like, do I want this? Do I not want this? And why do I want, you know, why do I want this? And so she kind of knows herself, and she's asked, you know, the tough questions in life to understand that about herself, which is good. So
yeah, it's I think it's off the movie Dodgeball where Vince Vaughn is like, I found that if I don't have any goals, then I'll never fail. And it's been phenomenal. That's like some people are just like, all right, if that's what you want to do, then go for it.
Yeah. But yeah. So like, kind of like we were saying, like both paths are totally fine. And like, I think it's more important for the individual to figure out, you know, kind of their purpose in life through asking that question and figuring it out sooner rather than later. And, you know, self-reflection will get you to that point, and not have you kind of like take some wrong roads as you go down the journey of life a little bit quicker. And it might also put you on the right road a little bit quicker and allow you to kind of chase after whatever it is that, you know, whatever your goal is, like with more tenacity than a lot of us. So
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Do you have any kind of closing thoughts here, Logan? Or
no, man, I think we pretty much hit it all. I think between this podcast and one of our other podcasts about just like competing and staying in the hunt, we really advertise CrossFit as just being like super painful. You have to do everything you can do to be good at CrossFit. Everything in your life has to revolve around it. And it's just this all-encompassing thing, which it kind of is, but it's half the fun.
and at the same time, like, it depends on, you know, what level you want to compete at in the sport too. You know, like
absolutely.
You know, if you're looking to compete at the highest level, then track your macros, get 8+ hours of sleep a night, make sure you do movement work. But like, if you're looking to compete at kind of like the local, maybe kind of bubble sanctional level, like you can start to kind of get away with like, you know, I have this other job where I have to wake up early, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. Like I'm getting 6 hours of sleep on those nights, or like, you know, I have a full-time job. My time's a little crunched. I can't, you know, get in the movement work needed. And like, and, you know, just as like a coach is important for the high level individual, the coach is just as important for those individuals, because they can monitor and they can help you, you know, set up your training specifically towards, you know, what you need, kind of figure out patterns that, you know, might align with your days a little bit better, and just kind of give you doses of the sport to get you better at the sport and staying healthy, if that makes sense. So we do seem like psychos, and you kind of have to be like pretty high up in the sport, for like some people do, especially if you're kind of on that bubble. But like, you know, there's long-term gratification that comes from, you know, hard work and being diligent about a process and creating habits and staying very detail oriented. So
But
cool. Well, thanks. I think that wraps it up. So thanks for listening, guys. If you guys are listening on YouTube, make sure you follow us on Instagram, blacklisted.hq. If you guys are on Spotify or iTunes, you can head over to Instagram, give us a follow, same account. Or you guys can go over to YouTube, kind of like us on YouTube, or subscribe. We'll put out some more content, kind of give some workout breakdown analysis. When some of these other qualifiers are coming out, I think we'll start putting out some videos for strategies for them, especially during the open. So if you guys are looking for a little bit more content, you can head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. So, and Logan, your Instagram's Logan Frey 55.
Logan, 55 Frey, Frey.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yep.
Dyslexia, I guess.
No, you're good.
But yeah,
you're
thanks
good,
for listening, guys. Thanks for coming on, Logan.
Yeah, man, you bet. It's a lot of fun.
For sure. And we'll catch you guys next time.